just being in proximity to a lot of outdoor industry and photographers and producers, I would get solicited to model. So I just started saying, yeah, I can totally model for you, but I do photo too. And that worked once. It's kind of just taken off from there. The economy being in the place that it was last year and having all these big life changes really slowed down my creative output. Unfortunately, there's a very direct correlation between how much I'm working and how happy I am. Biology and chemistry in college, and like totally ignored my creative side. The second I was holding a camera, totally refound this joy. This is what I'm meant to do.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Photo Talk Show, where we interview professional photographers and do a little slideshow with the artists themselves. My name is Julie Ellison, and if you like what you see here, please hit that subscribe button, like the video, or leave a comment. And I'm so excited because today we have the incredible, the wonderful Jules Jimreivat sitting down with us. A little bio about Jules. Jules is a Thai-American photographer and filmmaker based in the Pacific Northwest. She specializes in outdoor adventure and works with brands like Black Diamond, Stio, and Patagonia to create colorful, dynamic, and engaging images. So basically, Jules is crushing it. I'm so happy you're here, Jules. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Wow, so fun to hear my bio read to me.
Yeah, I just want to talk to you about your creative process. And why don't you just kind of start from the beginning, tell me how you got into photography, and then walk me through how you turned that into a career.
Yeah, wow, how I got into photography. So kind of like two separate periods of my life. I had wanted to be an artist or a photographer since I was like a very little kid. Just to roadmap a little bit before I dive into it, ended up sort of like putting that on the back burner or forgetting about that part of myself for a long time because I thought I needed to be in STEM. I wanted to go to college. I loved science. I came from a very working class family, and I just did not think that being an artist or a photographer was something I could actually do. So it wasn't until much later that I refound photography and started working professionally. But when I was a kid, so I'm a 90s baby, like
born in the 90s, right?
Baby, yes, baby
Okay.
in the 90s. I did play with like a Tamagotchi and like I have 90s memories, but barely a 90s baby. And but so I did not start, I do have memories of film cameras. My mom used one to like document family things. But I started shooting on just like point and shoot little digital cameras right when they first came out and like fell in love with it. I have like this journal entry that I found from when I was 10 years old that says like, I want to be a photographer when I grow up. And I like,
love that.
it.
I love
yeah,
it.
I know. Which because I seriously forgot that this was what I wanted to do for like over 10 years probably. Just, you know, being a young person and trying to find yourself. So to re-find that journal entry was really cute. And
How old were you when you found that journal entry?
3 years ago that I realized like I was already like professionally shooting again. And I think I have it. My journals are right at my desk. So
I'd love to see it.
So this is funny. We're really going in. This is my little kid journal. It's got like stickers all over it. And it's literally the first entry in here. Oh, I said I want to have a house and I have a picture in my head of what it will look like, and I want to be a photographer.
Oh my gosh. That's
I have never been a good speller.
So you were 10 when you wrote that?
Yes, yeah. I shot a lot of point and shoot stuff. I was really into like doing photo shoots with my sister and my cousins and like dressing up and going out. I was not shooting sports then. I was just kind of like goofing around with the camera, taking macro shots as much as I could with a little like kit lens. I took a class in photography in high school and I was using a DSLR that maybe the class provided me. And so I learned kind of like basic shooting and manual stuff then. I think kind of soon after that, I just maxed out the capability of the tools that I had. It's a really big investment to buy new tools. And I don't think I had the self awareness even to know that I really wanted that and that I needed better gear. So then it kind of gets to a time where I'm, thinking about what I want to do with my life. I want to go to college. What do I want to study? I thought science was really cool. So I just dove into that. And I studied biology and chemistry in college and like totally ignored my creative side. And it's really only within the last like 2 years even that I can like call myself a creative and like accept
Say it
what
out
this
loud.
really is.
I'm a photographer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So then, so
So
graduated
did you
college.
you got a degree in STEM?
STEM, yeah.
You did the hard work. You put in the time.
I did. Oh, yeah. So I went to school in Salt Lake City, this small liberal arts college called Westminster College. And then, so it wasn't until years after I graduated even that I found photography again. And the second I was holding a camera, totally refound this joy and was like, oh my God, this is what I'm meant to do. Like I can feel it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. So were you working in the STEM field, or were you kind of just floating around figuring out what you wanted to do when you refound photography? Like, did you have to do a whole career pivot, or what did that look like?
Right out of college, I actually decided I just wanted to climb and like just totally commit to climbing and training and like live that life. So I did that for a year. I was working as a competitive climbing coach for the youth team out of Momentum Climbing Gyms. Moved to Bend, Oregon, got a job in STEM as a chemist. I was working in the lab all day, like white coat, goggles, like
Wow.
gloves, everything.
So then after the job working in a lab in Oregon, what was that next after that?
So then I worked as a climbing school guide and teacher,
That's where I first
traveling high
heard your
school.
name was the climbing. Did you work for the climbing
The
academy?
climbing academy,
Okay,
yes,
yes,
yes.
okay.
So I had been shooting kind of just like on the weekends when I could for almost a year. And then when I went to the climbing academy, I bought a new full frame camera and started shooting climbing, which actually was kind of the first time I really shot climbing, even though I had been a climber my whole life.
And I do want to just say, for anybody listening that doesn't know what the climbing academy is, it is a traveling high school where high school aged climbers travel around the world with their teachers. You were a teacher, correct?
Yep, yep.
Yep. And the teachers are also climbing coaches, performance coaches. They're like living with these kids. I did a story on them and went with them to Greece, so I had a blast.
I love mentorship. I love coaching. Like I had a ton of experience with that. We did some time in the South. We were in Chattanooga, which I think
That's where I live.
did you move recently?
Yeah, back in August.
I
Yeah.
was having like the best time of my life, and I will say it is the hardest thing I've ever done, the coolest thing I've ever done, all wrapped up in one.
Yeah.
Also, this experience like totally prepared me for working on production in the outdoor industry because you're traveling with a group, you've got big schedules
You're
every
herding
day,
cats
back to back. Yeah.
all
Oh
the
yeah.
time. Yeah. Yeah, so you did that, and then, that sounds like you're getting kind of close to where you picked up a camera again.
I was shooting like a ton in Spain, in Kentucky, in Tennessee, and I definitely feel like I am my best creative self when I am fulfilled and happy with myself and my life.
And so what was next when you kind of finished up with TCA? What'd you do next?
COVID happened, quarter 4. We had to like go to online learning. I was like teaching my classes virtually from the US. They asked me to come back for the next year, but I just didn't really feel like COVID was done, I had a very high level of anxiety during COVID, which I'm only now able to like fully understand. And I was like, I don't want to travel with a group of high schoolers right now. Quit that and was just totally quarantining, staying at home with my roommates. And that's when I thought maybe I should try to make some money with this photography thing that I'm doing.
Mhm.
And like basically started like cold pitching, dabbled in modeling a little bit from my time living in Salt Lake, and just being in proximity to a lot of outdoor industry and photographers and producers. I had really good connections to outdoor clients, and I had a lot of mentors that were already professional photographers. And I would get solicited to
Mhm.
model every
Mhm.
once in a while, just random email or message on Instagram. And so I just started saying to them, like, yeah, I can totally model for you, but like, you should check out my website and I do
Yeah.
photo too. And that worked once. The first time it worked.
All you need is
And I,
one. All you need is
I, I know I did this job. I've learned a lot about what photography is worth for sure. Now looking back, I'm like, wow. I actually was like, it was sort of fair what I asked because I asked around a lot. It's kind of surprising that I was able to get the rate that I did, like right off the bat. Took it really, really seriously. I like did so much prep and planning and shot listing and did the very best that I could. The art director really, really liked what I did, and they hired me again. And it's kind of just taken off from there. And taking off is a strong word because it is a really, really slow
the
burn.
slow. Yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, that's how I started. Just like in my room, crammed in a house with four other roommates in like a three bedroom house, you
Wow.
know.
Yeah, and you were in the Pacific North. Were you still in Bend or?
In Bend,
Okay.
Oregon. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's so you kind of during COVID, you're like, okay, maybe I could make some money off this thing, but were you thinking, I'm really gonna try to be a professional photographer right now, or are you more just like, I need to like side hustle something to keep me busy and working? I mean, what was your sort of thought process of, because obviously it worked out, but did you have that ultimate goal in mind?
Uh, that's a great question. I think subconsciously I probably did because my childhood self was in there somewhere saying like this is what you're meant to do, like you've always wanted this. At the time, I think I was just like, let me try this and like see what comes. There really weren't a lot of other options. Like I knew that I didn't want to go back to the lab I had been working in. I was very, very much trying to like stay away from people,
Hmm.
isolate. Like I was very much still in that mindset. Um, and so I was I think I was really just like filling the time
Yeah.
consciously.
Hmm.
But I would say probably subconsciously I was like, oh, this is what I've always wanted. And like I was making it happen for myself.
Yeah, totally. So you get this first like assignment and and you're pitching. Like I find that so amazing because I feel like so many, especially women I talk to are like will have the most brilliant pitch or resume or portfolio and are like, I don't want to cold pitch. I don't want to bother people. I don't want to like, I don't want people to think that I think I'm a big deal. And there's all those like mental barriers holding us back. And so, was it sort of your experience? It sounds like it was your experience as a model. Like you knew the people, you knew what kind of they wanted and you had those relationships, or was your pitch really that good? Like where, what do you, looking back on it, what do you think got you that
Um, I
job?
I think I had a really strong outdoor adventure portfolio. Um,
Of all work you had just shot on your
I
own, you had built your own portfolio
yeah, I
shooting
just
what you wanted. Yeah.
right when lockdown happened, I got myself a Squarespace account and like put my work on online, and now I can say I have always been an artist and like really interested in like color pairings and
Yeah.
just all types of creative things. And so I put a lot of work into making my website look like something that I liked. And I think that's what got me hired when I sent them this link, like, oh, I could model on this shoot, or like I could create the photos on this shoot, and
Mhm.
here's what my website looks like. Here's what I can do. Yeah, looking back on that, I think my style has grown a lot because I really didn't have anything commercial. I mean, I literally had never shot anything for a client.
Mhm.
It was very editorial. Um, but yeah, it was strong enough. They liked it and they hired me.
You had never, because you had never shot a commercial job before, like you'd never been hired to take photos. And so if someone gets the courage to send a pitch and then gets accepted, but has never done it before, I'm just curious, like,
Yeah, I
what's your
was
process of how, like,
very persistent.
yeah.
Yeah, I was extremely persistent. I was like, I want to do this. I'm going to
Hmm.
get them to hire me.
Yeah.
And I luckily had just made this portfolio of my work, but I also like was really prompt with emailing
Hmm.
and like tried to have like the nicest tone that I could in emailing, and like I just genuinely really wanted to work with them, and I think that like read.
Where did you turn as soon as you got the gig as far as what steps you needed to take? Was that just stuff you had experienced, from the modeling and your past photography? Or, because you're talking about shot lists and planning and preparation. And again, I think a lot of people getting hired for their first commercial gig would be like, okay, I got hired, now what?
Like I said, I had some mentors that were photographers.
Mhm.
And I know that I was talking to them. I'm like a list maker, I'm like a calendar person, like I'm very goal oriented. And I think I just like intuitively like wanted this to be a really good shoot, and like knew that I needed to do some planning on the front end to get there.
And it sounds like you just kind of already you had a strong idea of what needed to happen, and you have a lot of influences, like you have the relationships with photographers and the mentorship. And yeah, sometimes, it's like you have absorbed all this information and you don't even know it. um,
Totally. Yeah.
so walk me through kind of, that was 2020 and now we're here in 2024. Like, give me kind of in a nutshell, your career trajectory.
It has been slow. I feel a really good momentum. I think I have felt a really good momentum over the last 4 years of freelancing, but there have been very, very slow periods. And one of the ways that I've been able to keep working for myself and growing my business over this time is that I am really good at saving money, and I saved a lot of money when I was working full time and when I was working at the climbing academy. And so I've always had kind of like this cushion. Also, I have diversified my skill sets a lot. So I model, I also do video. And last year, all modeling, photo, and cinematography were almost like equally third of my
Oh,
income
wow.
in my
Yeah.
business last year. This year, it's looking like it's going to be mostly photo, which I'm like, yes, because that's what I really want.
I love to hear you say business, because one of the questions I'm excited to ask everybody in these interviews is like, where is your sort of business acumen? Sounds like you're got a good foundation in the business aspects.
I'm just like really like a lists person. And so like right away when I started making money through photography, I was like, I should have an LLC. Like immediately started a spreadsheet of like who's the client, what's the date, what did I get paid, like did they pay me. That has been really helpful as my taxes get like more and more complicated. I would say like very much a systems level thinker. And so for running a business, it's really helpful because I'm always kind of like okay, like where does this put me for the next quarter? I don't really think in quarters, but where does this put me for the next couple of months? Do I have the time and the money to go do like a personal project, or do I need to like be focusing on some other line of income? There's been many times that I've been like, do I need to go get a restaurant job? I haven't needed to yet, but in some ways I'm like, hey, if I have the free time, it would be super fun to work in a restaurant.
Mhm. Totally. That would be like your social component, and you just happen to get paid, waiting
Right,
tables.
right.
So,
Exactly.
what have been some like challenges and barriers along the way for you?
The hardest part about my job, and I think most creative freelancers would say the same thing, is that there's always somebody else working a job in any given moment that's a job that you want to be on. And so it's just a lot of FOMO, like
Mm,
really, really intense FOMO that is like feels personal because it's like why am I not on that job? I feel like I'm good enough to be on that job. And so just like so much self-doubt, and if you're not careful, it can like turn into self-hatred. And like I have definitely experienced depression many times because of my career. Like it
mhm.
is so hard figuring out how to deal with that and how to stay motivated and keep persisting. It's actually really important for a creative mindset to have the time to just go think about something totally different or explore. I really like to read books. I really like to paint. I love skiing and climbing and biking and being outside.
When you have those moments where things are slow for you, and maybe you're seeing people on Instagram posting stories or whatever on these shoots, like how do you keep yourself from spiraling?
My partner is a really, really big part of my life. He also works in the outdoor creative industry. He's like super talented drone pilot and cinematographer, which is really, really nice because he like completely understands everything that I'm going through and vice versa. Um, so he is very supportive. Another thing is kind of just like learning to accept those times. Like, I think it's really natural. It's not natural to be on a high forever.
Mhm.
And so you do have to have these like less exciting periods. And so a really big part of my journey has been um, learning to understand that and being okay with not being the one on that job that I want right now. And then also goal setting, and like I literally write down what I want, and then I make some bullets of like what should I do to get there, and then I
Mhm.
go through and I like it's literally like check in the box, did I do
Yeah.
that yet? And then I come back the next month like, oh, I did do those things,
Yeah.
cool. Or like, oh, I should go do some of those things.
Do you have like regular check-ins for yourself where you're like, okay, I write goals at the beginning of every month and then I check in at the end? I mean, do you have something like routine or regimented there, or is it just kind of when something, strikes you and you write it down?
More so when something strikes me. Yeah. I am actually very into journaling, which I'm just realizing in the last couple months that I'm like really into journaling. Like I um, do I have it here? I do these like little watercolor journals, which is fun, like
Oh,
documenting little
yeah. Cool.
memories.
Yeah.
This is a French fry and a ketchup packet, just like something that happened at the airport.
Yeah.
And I have like tons of different little books like this that some of them are just writing and like goals, and some of them are like climbs that I've done. And yeah, I go into those books or like lists just when I feel like I should, when I have an idea and I want to like
Mhm.
get it out somehow.
I wanted to ask you about like your process as a filmmaker, as far as like where you get your ideas from, and then kind of how you make those a reality, and what, because it's such a different process than just still photography. So just kind of walk me through your creative process with filmmaking.
Yeah, I'm actually working on like totally changing my creative process. My first two films were both climbing films that I'm both very proud of and very critical of,
Yeah.
as any good creative should be.
Mhm.
And both of them were preconceived ideas that my really good friend Lizzie Van Patten kind of brought to me. She's not a filmmaker, but she's very creative and very connected with a lot of interesting characters. And so 2 times she was like, hey, I know you're interested in like doing short docs. Like I have a really good idea. Do you want to like meet my friend that is doing this cool thing? Um, so both times that the concept was already there and I just had to go in and visualize it like piece by piece and kind of write a narrative arc to it. I knew exactly what I wanted, and I wrote out all the scenes and the shots and how I wanted it to feel, and went and did it. And they never turn out exactly how you think they're going to, but it was very, very, very planned out. And since then, I have been really wanting to make more films, but not knowing what, because like preconceived ideas weren't coming to me. Shout out Lizzie. I am now just going out and filming with like I have ideas, like sort of through lines, but I'm like, you know what? I just want to go use my gear. Like, I don't need to, I was stopping myself from going out and filming because I didn't have a plan. And so now I'm trying to just be like, you don't need a plan. You just need to go be out there doing it. And so that's what I'm trying to do now. I've filmed like a few days on a few different like personal projects that I'm working on, and I feel really good about it. And I'm sure once I do enough days and kind of build trust with my characters a little more, I will like go back to what I usually do, which is like very, very planned out shot list.
So you have the characters though.
I do. I don't know
Okay.
if I think they know because
They
I've been
know that they're
filming them.
characters. They know they've been filmed. That's all you need.
Right.
So you have, because if it makes sense to in the with Lizzie, you were starting with story, and now you're starting with character, and you have the people, but you don't know what the story is yet, and so sounds like you're just going out and filming, and the story will emerge once you've done that a certain number of times.
Yes. That's my goal. And I think that I trust that it will happen. I know what the story is about. I just need to know these characters better and like build
Hmm.
trust with them a little better before I can actually write like a narrative for
Hmm.
them. I mean, they know that they're like part of the film that I'm working on. I'm like, oh, it's not ready yet because I haven't told them exactly what the narrative is or whatever.
Right.
But if it's a good documentary, like I shouldn't
You
be
won't need
doing
to
that.
tell them what the narrative is.
Right.
Yeah. When you were not filming before, you were the one holding you back. And I feel like that's such a good reminder, especially for any artists, but especially for freelancers. Like, yes, time and money and resources and things can hold you back, but you probably have a camera, it probably shoots video, go do it. And so that's really inspiring that you kind of had that thought, and it sounds like it's going to develop into something really cool. So is that something that you're pitching to brands now, or are you waiting to
No,
get that
not yet.
clear?
No, what I'm doing and the way I was able to convince myself to just go out and film was to just make like a little sizzle, like 15-second sizzle proof of concept type thing
Hmm.
that I can then take to sponsors to try to get funding for. But both of the projects that I'm working on now, I care about so much that I would just do them anyway. And I think that's a really good place to be.
Hmm.
Um, and my dream for my career is that I can shoot enough photography and be busy enough with that that I can then use my free time to just do like my own films,
Hmm.
that I don't need to get funding for.
Right.
Um, so so that's like
That's the goal.
what, 2 year plan, 2 year
Yeah.
business plan.
Yeah, I mean that to me is I've been having this conversation a lot a lot lately as far as funding for films and distribution, and it's just like there's no easy way to do it, or not easy, there's no straightforward way to like actually make money on your films and have them seen by a lot of people, at least for the level and the sort of niche that, we're in. Like,
I
yeah.
would just add to that, like, because 5-year plan for me probably is like I've done these personal project films that I'm super proud of, and then they go out in the world and they're seen, and people want to hire me to do their commercial
Right.
thing because they liked the style that I did my film in. So, and that's kind of what I'm talking about, like figuring out that I just needed to put out in the world what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And if you dedicate yourself to that, like the right people see it. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes you put something out and it's like, boy, people did not respond to that. And that's okay. Like, you just keep
Yeah,
putting things out that you
totally.
like. Yeah, I finally feel at a place where I'm like ready to do that and doing that and like having less fear about all of the negative things people might say about my work.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy with myself and ready. I'm like almost, I just turned 29, but I've always thought my 30s were going to be like this like amazing time for myself. And I really do feel that like coming on. Like I
Yeah.
know who I am, I know what I want, and I'm like know how to get there.
Yeah, that's huge. The films, I've watched them a couple times now, and there's kind of always something else that I'm finding,
Oh,
to
cool.
relate to, or little nuggets and stuff. So I'm really excited to see what you do with that. Is your new film climbing related, or you
No,
branching
and
out?
yeah, that's like really I'm very aware of like being niched, and I love climbing. I love climbing photography and cinematography, but I'm very aware of the fact that my first two films were both climbing films, and I'm so capable of so much more. I am not, at least for personal projects, I am not shooting climbing
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, so what, kind of talking about that artistic versus commercial, you sounds like you've had a similar experience to most, creatives where your personal projects have gotten you paid work. Where do you sort of sit in, generally speaking, where like what percentage of the work you're doing at any given time is sort of commercial for a client and personal?
It is like changing all of the time, and like last year was a really slow year, and I did not have a lot of photo work or video work. I
Hmm.
also like just had like a really rough year in my personal life. My partner tore his ACL and meniscus, which is like a terrible injury. He was like non-weight bearing for months. That was really hard on work and life. And then we also have been in the process of like moving our businesses to a new state. And so there's like just like a whole new community of people to meet and networking. And so the economy being in the place that it was last year and having all these big life changes really, really slowed down my creative output. Um,
Hmm.
and so I was not doing a lot of commercial work and I was not doing a lot of personal work. And it was like one of the saddest years I've ever had, which I'm like thankful that I'm able to recognize why I was so sad. Like unfortunately, there is a very direct correlation between how much I'm working and how happy I am. So last year was like nothing. It wasn't nothing, but I did not create very much at all. I did
Hmm.
paint a lot and I read a lot. I got a lot of really good ideas from like stories that I read in books. It actually ended up motivating me a lot to be doing all the things that I'm doing now, because I like went back through my Lightroom catalog for 2023 and I'm like, there is like nothing in here that I'm proud of.
Hmm.
And that is a bad feeling. I've been trying to take my camera out a lot more for personal work and for just like shooting like
Yeah.
my life, my regular life. And then also like trying to put more time into like planning these like perfect hero shots, and I'm just doing a lot more now. I'm very motivated because
Yeah.
of looking at my
How
work and being
slow.
like, I don't have anything.
I have to say it's kind of crazy to hear you say that, because maybe we have parallel lives, because my partner, we moved from Idaho to Tennessee last year, and he popped his bicep tendon, and he couldn't lift. He was in a
Oh man.
this was 3 days before we were supposed to move across the country. There was so much other life maintenance stuff. Like, I wasn't shooting on my own. But the one thing was, when I got to Chattanooga, I was like, go. Because it was the same sort of, like, I had not been making anything or doing anything creative. So when I got here and we unpacked our boxes and got more or less settled, I was like, go, 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 go. With personal work, which is great, but
Cool.
it didn't necessarily keep me up to speed with the commercial work. And I feel like I'm getting my feet under me. But what has that move like been for you?
Well, so really hard at first. Like, I desperately wanted to be shooting in this cool new location I was spending a lot of time in. I just felt like I didn't know enough people to get out and create the types of things that I wanted to create. That was really hard, but also really motivating to go meet this new community and be part of it. And after a year now, I feel very much like I'm well connected. I'm getting new ideas about other cool personal projects like all the time. Ski patrol at the local mountain up here is like 40% female ski patrol, which
Nice.
is so many women. It's really cool. And I keep meeting more women that are ski patrol. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I want to make a movie about this, And that's not even one of the things that I'm working on right now.
Yeah.
The move was slow. And I think it was actually a good thing that it happened when it was already a slow year. I wasn't getting much work anyway, so it was like, let's just get this all over with at the same time.
How does your experience as a model inform your photography and vice versa?
A lot, a lot. I really enjoy modeling because it lets me be part of a lot of more diverse sets than I would be a part of as a photographer. I get to meet so many really awesome creatives and producers and other talent. It's like incredible networking. I also really enjoy seeing other photographers on set and how they work, how they interact with their client, how they deal with adversity. I also think because I'm a photographer, like, I am really good at getting feedback from photographers when I'm in front of the camera. It informs my photography. It informs my business a ton. I wouldn't say I'm like getting creatively inspired from being on these bigger sets. Maybe sometimes, but I'm networking and I'm learning a lot. And that is like so crucial for me.
Totally. That is absolutely like priceless. If you weren't a photographer, what would you want to be?
I would just want to be a rock climber and living in the woods and living out of my truck and climbing.
One piece of media, whether it's podcast, book, movie, YouTube series, whatever, that you always recommend to people.
I really, really like the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. It's like an amazing piece of work.
This one's fill in the blank. Taylor Swift is
a boss.
One thing people don't know about you that might surprise them.
I was homeschooled K through 12. Yeah,
wow.
Did not go to school.
Okay. Introvert or extrovert?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure this out about myself.
Well, okay. Let us know when you figure it out. Jules is not leaving us yet. Stay tuned for the next video where Jules is going to do a slideshow presentation of her favorite images. See you soon.
I love that it's centered of phenomenal exposure. It's kind of right when I feel like I started to find that for myself. Smith Rock is a really, really special place. A female skater, she's like not wearing any protective ears, and then there's this graffiti. And I just feel like this photo is like a big middle finger to the patriarchy. This is like a story of me exploring everything that comes along with photojournalism.
And then to be a semifinalist, I mean, that's like, that's awesome.